All right, so security and access. This is a large part of the admin certification exam, and it's a broad and deep topic. And it's one of the more complex topics out there when it comes to the admin certification. And it's also a complex topic as it relates to if you move on to being a developer. And so it's important that you understand the core tenets of security and the sharing model of the Salesforce platform. The test questions on the administrator certification exam that are related to security and access are scenario based. I speak from experience, and these scenarios are presented in a paragraph or two fashion, and there's a lot to it, and sometimes it can be really hard to discern what the right answer is. And when you're sitting for the exam, you're presented with multiple choice options, and you may sometimes need to pick the best solution out of all of them that are possibly correct solutions, or it may be pick 3 of the 5 best solutions, or the pick 3 out of the 5 that are the correct answers, or that sort of thing. So considering that these are scenario based and this is a complex topic, I wanted to take a minute before we went into the deep dive on the screen to kind of go over at a very high level as far as what these subsequent lectures are going to contain. We're going to go into profiles and cover what profiles are and what they control and what they enable users to do or what they keep users from doing on the platform. We're going to follow that up with talking about roles, and a lot of times roles and profiles get confused with one another, and users, especially new admins, get those two things confused. And I've noticed on the admin exam, and speaking again from experience, that Salesforce tries to really pinpoint if you have that understanding between roles and profiles, because the questions on the test will really ferret that out really quickly if you understand the difference between profiles and roles or not. And so once we've discussed roles and the role hierarchy in that lecture, I follow that up with a lecture on what I call profiles versus roles. So now that we've established what profiles are and what roles are, we'll have a lecture that's comparing and contrasting the two, so that by the end of that lecture, you should be able to understand at a conceptual level what the differences are, so that when you're greeted with a challenging question on the exam, you'll be able to tell what the correct answer is, because you'll understand and be able to tell the difference between profiles and roles. So moving on from roles and profiles, the subsequent modules or lectures that we will have cover the sharing model of the Salesforce platform, and that's where you get into org-wide defaults. And what that is where you set the base foundation security settings across your entire Salesforce org for the different objects in your Salesforce instance. And so you may want certain things to be private, where someone can't see records for an object at all. So different settings you can give would be private or read-only or read-write, and we'll go more into those specifics in that module that relates to the sharing model. Then we'll move into permission sets. Permission sets is a newer solution that Salesforce has provided that provides one-off access to individuals or exceptions, so that you don't have to create multitudes of profiles. It's kind of the answer to trying to limit the number of profiles you have in your Salesforce org, is the inevitable exception that you need to make. And so you may want to create a permission set. There's also some newer functionality, such as the Lightning Experience, which is granted through a permission set, for example. So we'll go into permission sets, and then we'll also cover other ways that users can get access to records, and that would be through groups, and then also through concepts known as teams. There's different types of teams in Salesforce, like opportunity teams, case teams, account teams, a lot of different teams, a lot of different groups. And so as you see, when you're talking about the security settings and the sharing model for Salesforce, there's a lot of different layers that stack upon one another. You have to have that foundational understanding of profiles and roles, and then build upon that with the org-wide defaults, the sharing settings, the permission sets, and then the various groups and teams that people can be a part of. And so you will be tasked with troubleshooting access issues once you're an admin on the platform. You will inevitably have someone contacting you saying they don't have access to something that they should, or someone saying that someone has access to something that they shouldn't. And so security and access is a huge part of administering on the platform, and therefore is a large part of the exam.